Chad Daybell, his trial well underway, and we're hearing new evidence, believe it or not. Who knew there was actually other raw video of Chad Daybell from those horrible moments when his home was invaded by the investigators and unfortunately finding the bodies of Lori's two children. A very telling video that we saw this week is the court of him talking with his daughter. And I think most telling, the words, "I'm not coming back," being stated to her in that video. Joining me to discuss, former prosecutor and defense attorney Eric Faddis. Eric, after watching that video and seeing that new piece of evidence, what do you think about Chad?
What comes to mind is this notion of consciousness of guilt.
Yep.
Okay, that's something in the law that comes up all the time, and it's actions that show to a reasonable person that the individual is feeling guilty. They think they've done something wrong, and that video that I saw of him watching that search is dripping with consciousness of guilt.
100%. I mean, it was one of those questions I think a lot of us had of how invested was he into this insanity? Was he right there with Lori, believing that they killed zombies and these weren't humans anymore? It didn't really show that. That showed someone who realized things kind of finally caught back up to him.
Totally. I mean, like if police were searching my yard, I don't have two dead bodies or anything else in my yard.
Yeah.
So I'd probably just like let them do their thing. I might not be stoked about it, but I'm not going to be like observing like, oh my gosh, did they find the body? And that's just the tenor of the video, and his demeanor
Yeah.
in it just suggests that he knows there's something out there, and it's only a matter of time before the police find it, and he is, quote, not coming back, like you said.
Not coming back, and also they're looking in the house. There's nothing in the house, he says to his daughter, and there really wasn't anything in the house. But then what's outside of the house? That was another interesting statement that I thought he made in that video.
Yeah, right. I mean, it kind of like one can infer from that he's not saying there's nothing on the property. He's just saying there's nothing in the house,
Mhm.
which suggests that there is something else going on outside. And lo and behold, we everyone the world knows what law enforcement found.
It really starts to make you wonder, exactly why did he keep going along with this? I mean, at some point, if he was basically the henchman, but he was following what Lori wanted and kind of kept going down this road of, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Eventually, we're killing your kids, and you realize that that's not an okay thing. What the hell is going on there? What makes someone continue to go down such a dark road where he could have veered off any time and said, yeah, you're going a little bit too far.
You think a moral person would have pumped the brakes at
Hmm.
least before the notion of let's kill the kids.
Yeah.
That appears to not have happened here. We're seeing in the trial some potential financial motives, and it looks like those may have played a role for Chad Daybell, at least according to the prosecution, and that could compel a person to kind of continue to go along and get wrapped up in this scheme. And before he knew it, it was too late. But unfortunately, too late for the children. That's the real horror.
One of the things that was brought up early on, it's about sex, money, and was it power or control or something of that nature? I don't have the exact quotation in front of me right now. But with that being the case, I mean, that's a really scary thing as far as how one individual or multiple individuals can go, you know, based solely on those sort of factors without any sort of regard for the rest of his family. Because in that video, he's talking to his daughter from Tammy, who, obviously he's on trial for that murder as well. I mean, just the lengths that an individual will go. Are we talking about someone here with some sort of a personality disorder, a mental illness, or is this just some people just, it's not even that, they're just really shitty human beings?
I almost hope in one sense that Chad Daybell thought that they were killing zombies. I
Yeah.
almost hope
Yeah.
that was his motivation, because if it was something more self-serving like finances, that is going to crush him in this death penalty phase,
Mhm.
showing just the abject immorality of that kind of a motivation to do these heinous acts if he is convicted.
How do you think this affects his kids going forward? The ones obviously that are alive. Obviously, he's likely going to be spending the rest of his life in jail or getting the death penalty. They, from everything I still understand, are still kind of standing by his side. I'm sure you've seen cases and such where there's families that sit there and they still stand by the people that are clearly guilty. There's this overwhelming evidence, but what do you see for them down the road after this all finally kind of shores itself up?
What a horribly bleak outlook, and what sort of ancillary victims of their father's alleged behavior here.
Yeah.
We look at, I believe Lori Vallow, she has a family member, it's a male, I can't remember if it's a son or a stepson, who came out in the media and essentially went
Yeah.
against her and said, hey, my mom
Mhm.
is wrong. And I'm just wondering if there's a tipping point for Chad Daybell's children, and if they're going to reach that tipping point at the end of this trial, or down the road, or never.
Yeah, it would be very interesting. I've had him on the show before. I actually years ago, I didn't even realize that I was working with him in radio in Wichita, Kansas. And
Oh, wow.
oh, what an interesting conversation that would have been had I known that his sister was Lori Vallow. But yeah, yeah,
Yikes.
they kind of came out and they certainly have said their piece and are trying to they have a podcast called the Silver Linings Podcast. I believe it's her uncle and him that do that and kind of go into the interest that there is in this story. But yeah, just all around so sad, and this I can't imagine trying to shore that up in one's mind. Is there any risk for anybody if they did have knowledge of any of this going on? And I'm not in any way saying that they did, the kids, but these are adults. Most of them, I believe, are they're adult children of Chad Daybell. Um, you know, Sticking your head in the sand, maybe you wouldn't see it, or maybe they, I don't know, maybe what if someone did see or know something? Is there any chance that they would be facing any sort of repercussions? Again, I'm not saying that they did, but if there was that and they discover that in this trial, what does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, historically, there's this principle that essentially only having knowledge of some kind of wrongdoing usually does not give rise to a legal risk. But we're kind of seeing a trend nowadays with having knowledge and failing to intervene. That can sometimes be a problem. Now, hypothetically, if someone had knowledge of this and maybe was approached by law enforcement and either didn't give the whole truth or stated something inaccurately, that's really when we begin to look at charges for obstruction
Mhm.
and accessory after the fact and stuff like that. And so, at least hypothetically, if
Yeah.
someone was in that position, they could have that risk.
That's a scary thing to think about for them because obviously, being raised by Chad Daybell, you probably don't have the best judgment in life. So I could see, someone, doing what dad says. Again, not saying that they did or anything like that, but it's just another kind of tentacle of this whole mess that you kind of have to wonder about a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, thanks for checking out the video. Be sure to follow us wherever you download podcasts, and especially Apple Podcasts, where you can get advanced episode and premium content on our premium channel right there. Also, be sure to follow us on social media so you don't miss any breaking updates on the stories that matter to you most. We're on TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook. Just search Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Brueski, and you'll find us right there. Again, thanks for watching.